The sleek, obsidian hull of the Celestial Seeker cut through the inky void of space, its destination looming ever closer. Captain Xyler Vex stood on the bridge, his four eyes fixed on the swirling, toxic atmosphere of Deathworld X-37. The planet's reputation preceded it a world so hostile that even the hardiest of species couldn't survive more than a few minutes on its surface. "Captain," First Officer Catharn Solis called out, her voice tinged with concern, "we're entering the outer atmosphere. All systems are reporting extreme stress." Xyler's tentacles twitched nervously. "Acknowledged. Maintain our descent. We need to gather as much data as possible before." A cacophony of alarms suddenly erupted, drowning out his words. Red warning lights bathed the bridge in an eerie glow as the ship shuddered violently. "Multiple system failures," shouted Vorlax Cure, the chief engineer. "The planet's magnetic field is wreaking havoc on our electronics." Xyler gripped his command chair, his exoskeleton creaking under the strain. "Stabilize our descent. We can't abort now. We're too close." As the Celestial Seeker plummeted through layers of caustic clouds, the crew fought desperately to keep the ship intact. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light engulfed them, and for a moment, all was silent. When Xyler's vision cleared, he found himself staring at a scene that defied all logic. The toxic wasteland they'd expected was nowhere to be seen. Instead, a lush, vibrant landscape stretched out before them, teeming with life. "Impossible," he whispered, his mandibles clicking in disbelief. "Captain," Lunara Threx, the xenobiologist, called out, her voice trembling. "I'm detecting life signs. Thousands of them. And one of them is human." The bridge fell silent, the weight of this revelation hanging heavy in the air. Humans were thought to be extinct, wiped out centuries ago when their homeworld was destroyed. Yet here, on the deadliest planet in a known galaxy, a human life sign pulsed steadily on their sensors. "Pinpoint that signal," Xyler ordered, his mind racing. "Prepare a landing party. We need to investigate this anomaly immediately." As the crew scrambled to obey, Xyler couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of a discovery that would shake the very foundations of galactic knowledge. How could a human, a notoriously fragile species, survive on a world that had claimed the lives of countless hardened explorers? The landing party, led by Xyler himself, descended to the planet's surface in a heavily shielded shuttle. As they touched down in a clearing surrounded by towering, alien flora, the team's apprehension was palpable. "Atmosphere analysis complete," reported Zypherin Call, the environmental specialist. "It's breathable. Gravity is within acceptable parameters. This defies everything we know about X-37. Xyler stepped out of the shuttle, his protective suit hissing as it adjusted to the surroundings. The air was thick with the scent of unknown flora, and a chorus of alien wildlife echoed through the trees. "Spread out," he commanded. "Find that human life sign. And stay alert, we don't know what other surprises this world might hold." As they ventured deeper into the alien forest, the team's sensors began to pick up more anomalies. Plants that shouldn't exist side by side thrived in harmony. Creatures that looked like amalgamations of species from across the galaxy darted between the trees. Suddenly, a high-pitched laugh cut through the air, freezing the alien explorers in their tracks. It was a sound none of them had heard before, yet it was unmistakably the laughter of a human child. There, Tivaris Alun, the security chief, pointed towards a clearing ahead. As they approached, the team saw a sight that would be forever etched in their memories. A young human girl, no more than 6 years old, was swinging from vines, leaping between giant, colorful mushrooms, and sliding down the slippery backs of creatures that defied classification. The girl spotted them and paused, hanging upside down from a vine. Her eyes widened with curiosity rather than fear. "Oh, hello," she called out cheerfully. "Have you come to play too? This is the best playground ever." Xyler Vex stood rooted to the spot, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. Here, on the deadliest planet in the galaxy, a human child not only survived but thrived, viewing this lethal world as nothing more than a playground. As the girl swung towards them, Xyler knew that nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. The impossible had become reality, and the mystery of Deathworld X-37 had only just begun to unravel. As the alien landing party stood frozen in disbelief, young Sophia Bennett continued her carefree play, oblivious to the danger that surrounded her. The carnivorous plants that lined the clearing swayed gently, their vibrant colors a deceptive mask for their lethal nature. Yet, Sophia swung between them with the ease of a seasoned acrobat, her laughter echoing through the alien landscape. Captain Xyler Vex watched in amazement as the 8-year-old human child navigated what should have been a death trap. His exoskeleton quivered with a mix of fear and fascination. "How is this possible?" he whispered to his team. Suddenly, Sophia's eyes widened with excitement as she caught sight of the descending alien ship. Unlike the terror or confusion one might expect, her face lit up with unbridled curiosity and joy. "Wow, a spaceship!" she exclaimed, letting go of her vine mid-swing and landing gracefully on a large, pulsating fungus. "I've never seen one up close before. Is it yours?" The aliens exchanged bewildered glances, still unable to comprehend how this child could be so nonchalant in such a hostile environment. As if to underscore the surreal nature of the situation, a massive, serpentine creature emerged from the underbrush behind Sophia. Its body was covered in iridescent scales, and multiple rows of razor-sharp teeth lined its gaping maw. The beast was easily 5 times Sophia's size, and its predatory gaze was fixed squarely on the girl. The alien team reached for their weapons, ready to defend the child from what they perceived as imminent danger. But before they could act, Sophia turned and noticed the creature. "Oh, not now, Squiggles," she said with mild annoyance, as if addressing a mildly irritating pet. "Can't you see we have visitors?" "Shoo." To the utter astonishment of the alien observers, the terrifying creature which Sophia had casually named Squiggles let out a low, almost apologetic rumble. It then turned and slithered back into the dense foliage, leaving without so much as a backwards glance. Xyler Vex's mandibles clicked rapidly in shock. Did she just shoo away a Vorax serpent? One of the deadliest predators in the known galaxy. Lunar Threx, the xenobiologist, could barely contain her excitement. "Captain, this is unprecedented. The child seems to have some sort of connection with the fauna here. It's as if the creatures recognize her as part of their ecosystem." Sophia, unaware of the alien's astonishment, skipped towards them with a bright smile. "Hi there, I'm Sophia. Are you here to play too? I can show you all the best spots." As the girl approached, the aliens couldn't help but notice that the carnivorous plants seemed to lean away from her, almost reverently. It was clear that this human child wasn't just surviving on Deathworld X-37, she was thriving, having formed a symbiotic relationship with the planet's lethal ecosystem. Xyler Vex knew that this discovery would change everything they thought they knew about interspecies adaptation and the limits of survival. As Sophia stood before them, eagerly awaiting their response, the captain realized that their mission had just become far more complex and far more important than they could have ever imagined. As First Officer Katharn Solis led her team through the dense, alien foliage, their heavy armor and weaponry seemed increasingly inadequate against the horrors of Deathworld X-37. The expedition, initially confident in their preparedness, soon found themselves facing a series of near-death experiences that tested the limits of their survival skills. Their first brush with disaster came when Vorlax Cure, distracted by a biolite flower, stepped into a patch of quicksand-like substance. The gelatinous mass rapidly engulfed the alien, threatening to drag him under. As the team frantically tried to rescue their comrade, their efforts only seemed to accelerate his descent. Suddenly, Sophia's voice rang out from above. "Oh no, not the giggle goo. Here, use this." The young girl swung down on a vine, casually tossing them a large, flat leaf. "Just lay it on top and step on it. The goo hates the taste." Following her instructions, the team managed to extract Vorlax, who emerged shaken but unharmed. Katharn stared at Sophia in disbelief, but the girl had already moved on, beckoning them to follow. Minutes later, the expedition found themselves cornered by a pack of snarling, six-legged predators with razor-sharp quills. As the aliens raised their weapons, preparing for a deadly confrontation, Sophia stepped between them and the beasts. "Oh, are you guys hungry again?" she cooed, reaching into her pocket and pulling out what looked like glowing berries. She tossed them to the creatures, who immediately lost interest in the aliens and began happily munching on the fruit. "They're just grumpy when they're hungry," Sophia explained with a shrug. The third incident occurred as they crossed a narrow land bridge over a chasm filled with bubbling, acidic liquid. Halfway across, the bridge began to crumble. As panic set in among the aliens, Sophia calmly pointed to a nearby tree with long, prehensile vines. "Quick, grab those tickle tendrils," she shouted. The aliens, desperate for any solution, followed her advice. To their amazement, the vines responded to their touch, wrapping around their limbs and gently lowering them to safety on the other side of the chasm. Throughout these harrowing experiences, Sophia remained remarkably calm, treating each deadly scenario as if it were nothing more than a minor inconvenience. Her intimate knowledge of the planet's dangers and her ability to navigate them with ease left the alien expedition in awe. As they finally reached a clearing, catching their breath after the series of near-death experiences, Catharn turned to Sophia. How do you know all this? How do you survive here?" Sophia tilted her head, confusion evident on her face. "Survive? This is my home. Everything here is my friend. You just have to know how to listen and play nice." The aliens exchanged bewildered glances, realizing that this human child possessed a deep, almost symbiotic connection with a deadly world around her. It was clear that Sophia didn't just survive on Deathworld X-37, she was an integral part of its ecosystem, understanding its dangers in a way that defied conventional scientific knowledge. As Sophia skipped ahead, eager to show them more of her playground, Catharn and her team followed with a newfound respect and caution. They had come to study this world, but it was becoming increasingly clear that they were the ones with much to learn from both the planet and this extraordinary human child. As the alien expedition gathered around Sophia in a small clearing, Catharn Solis took the lead in initiating what she expected to be a delicate conversation. However, the young human's casual demeanor quickly dispelled any notion of formality. "So, Sophia," Catharn began cautiously, "how long have you been on this planet?" Sophia's brow furrowed in concentration. I'm not sure exactly. The suns have gone sleepy by lots of times. Maybe 6 months?" she shrugged, as if the passage of time was of little consequence to her. The aliens exchanged shocked glances. 6 months alone on a death world was unthinkable for even the hardiest of species, let alone a human child. "And you've been alone all this time?" Zypherin Call asked, his voice filled with concern. Sophia giggled. "Well, not alone. I have all my friends," she gestured to the surrounding flora and fauna. "But if you mean other people like me, then yep. It's been super fun though. I've had lots of adventures." Xyler Vex leaned forward, his curiosity piqued. "What kind of adventures, Sophia?" The girl's eyes lit up with excitement. "Oh, all sorts, like the time I rode the lava rapids on a heat-resistant leaf. That was so cool. The fireflies helped guide me through the tricky parts." Tivaris Illune's jaw dropped. "Lava rapids, but the heat alone should have." Sophia continued, oblivious to the alien's disbelief. "Or when I played hide and seek in the mist maze. That was tricky because the mist keeps changing colors and trying to trick you. But I figured out that if you listen closely, you can hear it giggling when it's about to change." Lunara Threx, the xenobiologist, furiously took notes, her mind racing to reconcile this information with known science. "The mist maze? You mean the chromatic fog fields? But those are highly toxic and hallucinogenic." "Oh, and there was the time I went diving in the crystal caves," Sophia added cheerfully. "The water there makes you all floaty and sparkly. I could hold my breath for ages." Catharn's eyes widened in horror. "The crystal caves? But the liquid there is highly pressurized and corrosive. It should have crushed and dissolved you instantly." Sophia looked confused by their reactions. "Really? It just felt tingly to me. Oh, and sometimes I take naps in the whispering willows. Their branches are so comfy, and they sing the nicest lullabies." Vorlak's cure shuddered. "The psychic drain trees, but they feed on neural energy. They should have left you brain dead within minutes." As Sophia continued to recount her fun adventures, each more impossible than the last, the aliens struggled to reconcile her experiences with their knowledge of Deathworld X-37. Everything they knew about the planet's lethal nature seemed to be contradicted by this child's joyful tales. Xyler Vex, his mind reeling, finally interrupted. "Sophia, how is any of this possible? These things you describe should be fatal to any living being, especially a human." Sophia tilted her head, genuinely puzzled by the question. "I don't know. It's just how things are here. Everything wants to play and be friends if you're nice to it." She paused, then added with a grin, "Maybe the planet just likes me." The aliens fell into a stunned silence, the implications of Sophia's words hanging heavy in the air. It was clear that this child didn't just survive on Deathworld X-37, she had formed a symbiotic relationship with it that defied all scientific understanding. As they watched Sophia absent-mindedly pet a plant that they knew to be carnivorous, the plant purring contentedly under her touch, the expedition realized that their mission had just become far more complex. They weren't just studying a Deathworld anymore. They were witnessing the impossible harmony between a human child and a planet that should have killed her 1,000 times over. The mystery of Sophia's survival deepened, and with it, the aliens' understanding of life, adaptation, and the very nature of reality itself was irrevocably shaken. As the alien suns dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie twilight across the landscape, the expedition team's anxiety reached a fever pitch. Captain Xyler Vex barked orders, directing the setup of a defensive perimeter around their makeshift camp. Energy barriers hummed to life, and weapons were primed for what they anticipated would be a long night of fending off the planet's nocturnal terrors. Sophia, however, seemed blissfully unaware of their mounting tension. She yawned widely, stretching her arms above her head. "Well, I guess it's bedtime for me," she announced cheerfully. Catharn Solis looked at the child in disbelief. "Bedtime? Sophia, it's not safe out here. We need to protect you from—" But Sophia was already skipping towards a cluster of large, pulsating fungi. To the aliens' horror, the fungi unfurled, revealing rows of sharp, glistening teeth. Yet instead of devouring the girl, they gently enveloped her in a cocoon-like embrace. "Good night, Mr. Mushroom," Sophia giggled, snuggling into the deadly flora as if it were a comfortable bed. "Thanks for keeping me warm." The aliens watched, dumbfounded, as various lethal creatures began to emerge from the shadows. Creatures with multiple eyes, razor-sharp claws, and venomous appendages crept closer, their predatory gazes fixed on the camp. Xyler raised his weapon, prepared to defend against the impending onslaught. But before he could give the order to fire, Sophia's voice rang out in song. The melody was unlike anything the aliens had ever heard. It was simultaneously beautiful and terrifying, a lullaby that seemed to resonate with the very essence of the Deathworld itself. The lyrics, if they could be called that, were a mix of soft humming and words in an unknown language that seemed to shift and change with each verse. As Sophia sang, the approaching predators began to slow their advance. Their aggressive stances softened, and many of them sat down, swaying gently to the rhythm of her song. Even the most fearsome beast creatures that the aliens knew could tear through their strongest armor curled up like contented pets. The expedition team watched in awe as the deadly lullaby worked its inexplicable magic. Lunara Threx, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear, cautiously approached one of the now docile creatures, a massive, multi-limbed horror that had been snarling moments before. To her amazement, it nuzzled her hand affectionately. "Impossible," she whispered. The vibrational frequency of her voice seems to be altering their neural patterns. But how? As the last notes of Sophia's song faded away, the entire clearing had transformed into a peaceful sanctuary. Predators that should have been mortal enemies lay side by side, some already drifting off to sleep. The very air seemed calmer, the usual ominous sounds of the night replaced by gentle, almost contented murmurs from the surrounding wildlife. From within her fungal cocoon, Sophia's sleepy voice called out, "See? Everyone just wants to snuggle at bedtime. Good night, new friends." The aliens stood in stunned silence, their weapons lowered, and their defensive preparations suddenly seeming absurd. They exchanged bewildered glances, struggling to process what they had just witnessed. Xyler Vex, his mandibles clicking softly in amazement, finally spoke. I think we can stand down. It appears we're safer here than we've ever been." As the team cautiously settled in for the night, surrounded by peacefully slumbering creatures that should have been trying to kill them, they couldn't help but marvel at the profound mystery that was Sophia. This child, with her impossible connection to the Deathworld, had once again shattered their understanding of this planet, and perhaps of the very nature of life itself. In the soft biolite glow of the alien night, with Sophia's gentle snores mixing with the contented purrs of lethal predators, the expedition realized that their greatest protection on this deadly world was not their advanced technology, but a young human girl and her deadly lullaby. The sterile environment of the Celestial Seeker's medical base stood in stark contrast to the wild, untamed world outside. Science Officer Lunara Threx meticulously prepared her equipment, her 4 hands moving with practiced precision as she arranged an array of advanced diagnostic tools. Across from her, Sophia sat on the examination table, swinging her legs playfully and marveling at the blinking lights of the medical equipment. "All right, Sophia," Lunara began, her voice gentle yet filled with scientific curiosity. "We're going to run some tests to understand how you've been able to survive on X-37. It won't hurt, I promise." Sophia nodded enthusiastically. "Okay, will it tickle?" The wiggle worms on the planet always tickle when they check if I'm healthy. Lunara blinked in surprise, but continued with her examination. As the scans progressed, her expression shifted from curiosity to disbelief, then to utter astonishment. This can't be right," she muttered, recalibrating her instruments and running the test again. Captain Xyler Vex, who had been observing silently, stepped forward. "What is it, Lunara? What have you found?" The science officer's hands trembled slightly as she pulled up the holographic display of Sophia's biological scan. "Captain, according to these readings, Sophia's DNA is evolving. It's unlike anything I've ever seen in a human, or any species for that matter." The display showed Sophia's genetic structure, but instead of the stable double helix expected in human DNA, it pulsed and shifted, almost as if it were alive and adapting in real time. "Her cellular structure is in a constant state of flux," Lunara continued, her voice filled with awe. "It's as if her body is continuously adapting to the environment around her. The toxic elements that should be killing her are instead being incorporated into her biology, strengthening her rather than harming her." Xyler leaned in closer, his compound eyes widening. "Are you saying she's becoming part of the planet?" Lunara nodded slowly. "In a way, yes. But it's more than that. Look at her respiratory system." The hologram zoomed in, revealing Sophia's lungs. To their amazement, the organs seemed to be capable of filtering out toxic gases and even processing some of the deadly atmospheric components of X-37 for oxygen. "And her skin," Lunara added, highlighting another area of the scan. "It's developed properties similar to the heat-resistant flora we've observed on the planet. She can literally withstand temperatures that would incinerate a normal human." As they delved deeper into the results, more impossibilities came to light. Sophia's digestive system could process substances that should be lethal poisons. Her nervous system showed signs of advanced synaptic plasticity, allowing her to adapt to the psychic influences of the planet's fauna without suffering mental degradation. Perhaps most astonishingly, her brain scans revealed patterns of activity that defied conventional neuroscience. It was as if Sophia's mind had developed the ability to communicate on a fundamental level with the planet's ecosystem. This challenges everything we know about human physiology, Lunara said, her scientific excitement barely contained. It's not just adaptation, it's as if she's co-evolving with the planet itself. The implications for our understanding of genetics, evolution, and even the nature of life are staggering. Sophia, oblivious to the groundbreaking discoveries being made, piped up cheerfully. "Are we done? Can I go play with the shiny buttons now?" Xyler and Lunara exchanged glances, the weight of their discovery hanging heavy between them. They had come to X-37 expecting to study a Deathworld, but instead, they found themselves face to face with a phenomenon that could revolutionize their understanding of life itself. As Sophia hopped off the examination table, eager to explore the ship, Xyler couldn't help but wonder, was this extraordinary child the key to unlocking the secrets of Deathworld X-37? And more importantly, what did her impossible existence mean for the future of interspecies relations and the very definition of human potential? The mystery of Sophia Bennett had only deepened, and with it, the aliens' certainty about the universe they thought they knew continued to unravel. Captain Xyler Vex paced the bridge of the Celestial Seeker, his forearms clasped behind his back in a gesture of deep contemplation. The ship's alarms blared intermittently, a constant reminder of the danger that lurked just beyond the hull. "Captain," Catharn Solis spoke up, her voice tense, "our shields are degrading rapidly. Protocol dictates we leave immediately before we lose the ability to break orbit." Xyler nodded grimly, but before he could give the order, Sophia's voice piped up from where she sat, fascinated by the ship's controls. "But we can't leave yet," she protested. "I need to get my toys. They'll be sad if I leave them behind." The captain's mandibles clicked in frustration. "Sophia, it's far too dangerous. We barely survived our first expedition." Sophia's lower lip trembled. But they're my friends. Please, I promise it won't take long. I know exactly where they are." Against his better judgment, Xyler found himself swayed by the child's plea. "Very well," he sighed. "One quick retrieval mission. Sophia, you'll guide us from the ship. Catharn, assemble a team." And so began a chaotic sequence of events that would push the alien crew to their limits. The expedition, led by Catharn, started off following Sophia's cheerful directions through their comms. "Just go past the Giggle Goo Pond, then take a left at the big purple flower that likes to sing." As they navigated the alien landscape, each step brought new perils. The Giggle Goo turned out to be a highly corrosive substance that dissolved 2 of their protective suits on contact. Only quick thinking and liberal use of the neutralizing agent Sophia had taught them about earlier saved the affected crew members. "Oops, sorry," Sophia's voice crackled through the comms. "I forgot to mention the goo gets extra giggly when it's excited. Try tickling it next time." The big purple flower turned out to be a massive, carnivorous plant that attempted to devour Vorlak's cure whole. The team managed to rescue him, but not before he was thoroughly covered in a sweet-smelling nectar that attracted swarms of stinging insects. "Oh, that's just Mr. Hungry," Sophia explained casually. "He's always grumpy before lunch. Did you try singing to him? He loves lullabies." As they pressed on, following Sophia's well-intentioned but often perilous directions, the team faced a gauntlet of deadly challenges. They navigated fields of explosive spores, crossed rivers of liquid that defied the laws of physics, and dodged the attentions of creatures that seemed to be made of living shadow. Throughout it all, Sophia's voice remained cheerful and encouraging. "You're doing great, just a little further. Oh, watch out for the tickle vines. They get really huggy when they're lonely." Back on the ship, Xyler watched the mission's progress with a mixture of horror and fascination. Every instinct told him to abort, to cut their losses and leave this death trap of a planet. But Sophia's unwavering optimism and the incredible resilience of his crew kept him from giving the order. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity of near-death experiences, the team reached their destination, a small cave hidden behind a waterfall of shimmering, multicolored liquid. "We found it, Captain," Catharn reported, her voice weary but triumphant. But these aren't toys, at least not as we understand them. The toys turned out to be a collection of bizarre alien artifacts, pulsing with strange energies and defying easy classification. As the team carefully gathered them, Sophia's excited voice came through once more. "Oh good, you found them. Be careful with the glowy one. It gets a bit jumpy when it's nervous." As if on cue, one of the artifacts began to vibrate intensely, emitting a high-pitched whine that sent the local wildlife into a frenzy. The team barely made it back to their shuttle, artifacts in tow, as the planet itself seemed to come alive around them. Safely back aboard the Celestial Seeker, the exhausted but successful team presented their findings to an ecstatic Sophia. As the child happily reunited with her toys, Xyler Vex realized that this mission had been more than just a retrieval. It was a glimpse into the incredible bond Sophia had formed with this deadly world. As the ship finally broke orbit, leaving the enigmatic Deathworld X-37 behind, Xyler knew that the true adventure understanding Sophia and her impossible connection to this planet was only just beginning. As the Celestial Seeker put distance between itself and the enigmatic Deathworld X-37, the ship's laboratory buzzed with frenetic energy. Engineer Zypher Enkal hunched over a workbench, his multiple eyes darting between the array of toys spread before him and the complex holographic readouts floating in the air. This is impossible," he muttered, his voice a mix of awe and frustration. "Captain, you need to see this." Xyler Vex entered the lab, followed closely by Sophia, who skipped happily behind him. "What have you found, Zypher?" The engineer's hands moved rapidly, manipulating the holographic displays. "These aren't toys, Captain. They're advanced technology, far beyond anything we've ever encountered. Look at this one." He held up a small, iridescent sphere that pulsed with an inner light. "This device appears to be capable of manipulating gravitational fields on a quantum level. It could potentially create localized areas of altered physics." Sophia reached out and plucked the sphere from Zypher's hand. "Oh, you mean Mr. Floaty? He helps me visit the upside-down waterfalls. Watch." To the alien's astonishment, Sophia activated the device with a simple touch. The gravity in the lab suddenly shifted, sending tools and equipment floating gently towards the ceiling. "Sophia, please," Xyler said, trying to maintain his composure while drifting upwards. "Could you turn it off?" The girl giggled and deactivated the sphere, returning gravity to normal. Zypher, now back on his feet, continued his analysis with increased urgency. "And this," he said, pointing to what looked like a crystalline flower, "appears to be a hyper-advanced atmospheric processor. It can transmute toxic gases into breathable air, create localized weather patterns, even alter the chemical composition of its surroundings." Sophia nodded enthusiastically. "That's Misty. She helps me play hide and seek in the fog fields. Sometimes she makes it rain candy." As Zypher went through the collection, each toy revealed itself to be a piece of technology so advanced it bordered on the miraculous. There were devices for matter manipulation, energy conversion, and even what appeared to be rudimentary time dilation. "Captain," Zypher said, his voice low with a weight of realization, "these aren't just random artifacts. They form a system, a network of terraforming and environmental control technology. I believe Deathworld X-37 isn't a natural planet at all. It's artificial, a constructed world of unimaginable complexity." The implications of this discovery hung heavy in the air. Xyler's mandibles clicked rapidly as he processed this information. "Are you saying that someone built that death trap of a planet?" Zypher nodded slowly. "Not just built it, Captain. They're still controlling it, shaping it, perhaps even using it as some kind of grand experiment. And somehow, Sophia here has become an integral part of that system." All eyes turned to the young girl, who was contentedly playing with what looked like a simple bracelet, but was, in fact, a device capable of rewriting the genetic code of living organisms. "Sophia," Xyler asked gently, "do you know where these toys came from? Did someone give them to you?" The child looked up, her brow furrowed in concentration. I'm not sure. They've always been there, I think. Sometimes I find new ones, or they find me. They like to play. Zypher's hands flew over his console, correlating data. Captain, I've analyzed Sophia's genetic structure against the operating systems of these devices. There's a match. It's as if she's become a living interface for the planet's systems. The realization struck them all at once. Sophia's miraculous survival, her ability to thrive in an environment that should have been lethal, her casual manipulation of forces that defied their understanding of physics, it all pointed to an inescapable conclusion. She's not just surviving on that world, Lunara Threx whispered, having entered the lab in time to hear Zypher's findings. She's becoming its master. As the aliens grappled with the magnitude of this discovery, Sophia continued to play with her toys, each casual interaction demonstrating a level of control over fundamental forces of the universe that left them breathless. Xyler Vex stood in silence, watching the human child who had unwittingly upended everything they thought they knew about life, technology, and the nature of reality itself. The mystery of Deathworld X-37 had deepened beyond their wildest imaginations, and at its center stood Sophia, a child of two worlds, bridging the gap between the human and the unimaginably alien. As the Celestial Seeker continued its journey through space, its crew knew that their discovery would shake the foundations of galactic society. The question now was not just how to protect and study this extraordinary child, but how to prepare for the profound changes that would inevitably come with the revelation of Deathworld X-37's true nature. As the Celestial Seeker maintained a stable orbit around Deathworld X-37, the crew found themselves adapting to the unexpected presence of their young human guest. In an effort to keep Sophia entertained and, more importantly, to study her unique abilities, Security Chief Vorlax Cure reluctantly agreed to a game of hide-and-seek on the planet's surface. "Remember," Captain Xyler Vex cautioned as Vorlax prepared to descend in a shuttle, "constant communication. At the first sign of danger, abort the mission." Vorlax nodded grimly, his exoskeleton gleaming in the ship's artificial light. "Understood, Captain. Though I suspect the greatest danger might be losing track of our enthusiastic companion." As the shuttle touched down on a relatively stable area of the planet's ever-shifting landscape, Sophia burst out, her laughter echoing across the alien terrain. "Okay, Vorlax, count to 100 and no peeking." Before the security chief could protest, Sophia had activated one of her toys, a device that bent light around her, rendering her nearly invisible. Vorlax sighed, beginning his count as he watched the slight shimmer in the air that indicated Sophia's retreating form. Upon reaching 100, Vorlax began his search, his highly tuned senses on high alert for any of the planet's numerous dangers. He moved cautiously through fields of crystalline flowers that chimed ominously and skirted pools of liquid that seemed to follow his movements with unsettling intelligence. As he crested a hill, Vorlax froze. Before him stood a structure that was decidedly not natural to the planet's chaotic ecosystem. Its sleek, metallic surface contrasted sharply with the organic shapes that dominated the landscape. Intricate patterns pulsed with a soft, blue light along its walls. "Captain," Vorlax communicated back to the ship, "I've found something. It appears to be an artificial structure, definitely not of natural origin." "Proceed with caution," Xyler's voice crackled through the calm. "Any sign of Sophia?" "Negative," Vorlax replied, approaching the structure. "But this feels significant." As he neared the building, a section of the wall shimmered and dissolved, revealing an entrance. Vorlax hesitated for a moment before stepping inside, his curiosity overriding his caution. The interior was a single, circular chamber. In the center stood a holographic projection of the planet, swirling with data streams and complex algorithms that even Vorlax's advanced mind struggled to comprehend. But it was the message pulsing around the hologram that caught his attention, a repeating sequence of symbols that his universal translator struggled to decipher. After several tense moments, the translation came through. "Project Eden, Phase 3 initiated. Genetic key accepted. awaiting final convergence. Vorlax's mind raced. "Captain, I'm transmitting data back to the ship. There's a message here, something about a Project Eden and a genetic key. I think it might be referring to." His words were cut off as a familiar giggle echoed through the chamber. Sophia shimmered into view, her cloaking device deactivating. "Found you, Vorlax. Oh wow, what's this pretty place?" Before Vorlax could stop her, Sophia approached the hologram. As her hand touched the swirling data, the entire structure hummed to life. The hologram expanded, filling the room with a dizzying array of star charts, DNA sequences, and what appeared to be plans for planetary reformation on a massive scale. "Sophia, don't touch anything else," Vorlax called out, but it was too late. The girl was already interacting with the holographic interface, as if she'd done it 1,000 times before, her fingers dancing through the data streams with practiced ease. "Look, Vorlax," she exclaimed. "It's showing me all the other playgrounds. Can we visit them too?" The security chief's blood ran cold as he realized the implications. "Other playgrounds? Sophia, what do you mean?" But before she could answer, the structure began to shake. The hologram collapsed into a single point of light, which shot upwards through the ceiling. Outside, the sky lit up with a brilliant display of energy, forming a pattern that Vorlax recognized with a sense of dread. It was a beacon. "Captain," he shouted into his comm, "we need emergency extraction now, I think. I think we've just activated some kind of signal. And sir, if I'm interpreting this correctly, Deathworld X-37 isn't unique. There are others out there, and Sophia. Sophia might be the key to all of them." As the planet around them began to shift and change more rapidly than ever before, Vorlax grabbed Sophia and ran for the shuttle. The security chief's mind was reeling. What was Project Eden? Who had created these deadly worlds, and why? And most importantly, what role was Sophia meant to play in this cosmic game? As they blasted off the planet's surface, racing back to the safety of the Celestial Seeker, Vorlax knew that they had stumbled upon something far greater and more terrifying than they could have ever imagined. The mystery of Deathworld X-37 had just expanded to a galactic scale, and at its center was a human child with the power to reshape worlds. The Celestial Seeker's alarms blared as a massive ship materialized from hyperspace, its ominous silhouette dwarfing the research vessel. Captain Xyler Vex's compound eyes widened as he took in the intruder's imposing form. "Battle stations," he commanded, his voice steady despite the tension. "Shields up, weapons on standby." Before the crew could fully react, a booming transmission echoed through the bridge. "Attention, Celestial Seeker. This is the Dominion Warship Eradicator. Surrender the human child immediately, or face annihilation." Xyler exchanged worried glances with his officers. "This is Captain Xyler Vex. We're on a peaceful research mission. By what authority do you demand our passenger?" The response was immediate and chilling. "By the authority of those who seeded the Deathworlds. The child is property of Project Eden. Comply, or be destroyed." As the crew scrambled to formulate a response, Sophia's small voice piped up from where she stood, clutching one of her toys, a small, pulsating orb. "They don't sound very nice. Maybe they need a timeout." Before anyone could stop her, Sophia activated the orb. A wave of energy pulsed outward, enveloping the Celestial Seeker in a shimmering field. The hostile ship's weapons flared to life, but their energy beams dissipated harmlessly against Sophia's protective bubble. "Fascinating," murmured Science Officer Lunara Threx, analyzing the readings. "She's created some sort of phase shift barrier. Their weapons can't touch us." The Eradicator's captain, clearly frustrated, began to maneuver for a more aggressive approach. But as the tension mounted, something unexpected happened. The space around them shimmered, and suddenly the Celestial Seeker was surrounded by a diverse array of ships. Some were organic in nature, pulsing with biolite. Others were sleek and metallic, defying known engineering principles. All of them positioned themselves protectively around the research vessel. A new voice, melodious and multi-toned, resonated through the communications system. Eradicator, you trespass in protected space. The child is under our guardianship. Leave now or face the consequences. Sophia's eyes lit up with recognition. Oh, it's the Star Singers. They're my friends from the big sparkly sea. Captain Vex, momentarily stunned by this turn of events, quickly regained his composure. Identify yourselves, he demanded of the newcomers. The melodious voice responded, We are the guardians of the cosmic nursery. We watch over the developing worlds and their chosen seeds. Your Sophia is one such seed, and we will not allow her to fall into the wrong hands. The Eradicator, now outnumbered and outgunned, began to back away. But Sophia, her face scrunched in concentration, raised her hands. To everyone's astonishment, tendrils of energy began to flow from her fingertips, weaving through space towards the hostile ship. Sophia, what are you doing? Xyler asked, a mix of awe and concern in his voice. Making them understand, she replied, her voice suddenly older, wiser. They forgot why they started Project Eden. I'm helping them remember. The energy tendrils enveloped the Eradicator, and for a moment, the ship seemed to shimmer and shift. When it stabilized, the aggressive posture was gone. Instead, it hung in space, almost docile. A new transmission came through, this time filled with confusion and remorse. We apologize. We had lost sight of our true purpose. The child, she showed us the truth. We will trouble you no more. As the Eradicator retreated, the Guardian ships moved closer. The melodious voice spoke again. You have cared for Sophia well, but her journey is far from over. There is much she must learn about her role in the grand design. Sophia, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light, turned to Captain Vex. Don't worry, Captain. I'll still come visit. But I have to go help wake up the other playgrounds now. There are so many worlds that need to remember how to grow. As the crew of the Celestial Seeker watched in amazement, Sophia began to glow, her form becoming translucent. She waved goodbye, a bright smile on her face, before dissolving into a shower of light that flowed towards one of the Guardian ships. Captain Xyler Vex, still processing the incredible events, realized that their simple research mission had uncovered something far greater than they could have ever imagined. They had stumbled upon a cosmic plan of unimaginable scale, with Sophia, the cheerful human child who treated a Deathworld as a playground, at its very center. As the Guardian ships prepared to depart with their precious cargo, Xyler knew that the true adventure was only beginning. The mystery of the Deathworlds, Project Eden, and Sophia's true nature would reshape their understanding of the universe itself. And somehow, he suspected, their paths would cross again in this grand cosmic dance. The Celestial Seeker cut through the vast expanse of space, its course set for a planet that had long been thought lost Earth. Captain Xyler Vex stood on the bridge, his 4 eyes fixed on the starfield ahead, lost in thought. The order to return Sophia to her homeworld had come as a surprise, especially given the recent revelations about her true nature and importance. Captain, First Officer Catharn Solis approached, her voice low. I've completed the security sweep you requested. No signs of tampering or unauthorized access. Xyler nodded, his mandibles clicking softly. Good. Keep everyone on high alert. I can't shake the feeling that this journey won't be as simple as command suggests. As if on cue, the ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared as the crew scrambled to their stations. Report, Xyler barked, steadying himself against his command chair. Chief Engineer Vorlax Kewer's voice crackled over the comm. Captain, we've got a rupture in the primary coolant system. It's unlike anything I've seen. The containment field just dissolved. Xyler's eyes narrowed. Sabotage. Possibly, Vorlax replied. But whoever did it left no trace. It's as if the system failed on its own, but that's virtually impossible given our maintenance protocols. As the crew worked to repair the damage, Sophia watched from her quarters, her young face creased with worry. The ship is hurting, she murmured to herself, placing a hand on the wall. Don't worry, I'll help you feel better. Unbeknownst to the crew, a soft glow emanated from Sophia's touch, spreading through the ship's systems and accelerating the repairs. Days passed, and the celestial seeker continued its journey. But the sense of unease among the crew only grew as more accidents plagued their voyage. During a routine stellar mapping session, the ship's sensors suddenly went haywire, nearly sending them off course into a dangerous nebula. Science Officer Lunara Threx worked tirelessly to recalibrate the systems, only to find that the core programming had been altered by an unknown force. "It's as if something rewrote our stellar charts," she reported to Xyler. "But the new data, it's incredibly accurate. More so than our previous maps. It's almost as if someone is trying to help us, even as others try to hinder us," Xyler finished, his suspicions growing. The most alarming incident occurred as they passed through a supposedly empty sector of space. Without warning, the ship's shields failed, leaving them vulnerable to a sudden meteor shower that seemed to appear out of nowhere. "Evasive maneuvers," Xyler commanded as the bridge erupted into chaos. As the crew fought to dodge the deadly projectiles, Sophia slipped onto the bridge unnoticed. Her eyes glowed with an otherworldly light as she approached the main viewport. "No more hurting," she said softly, raising her hands. To the crew's astonishment, the meteors began to veer away from the ship, as if repelled by an invisible force. When the danger had passed, all eyes turned to Sophia. "I told the rocks to play somewhere else," she explained with a shrug, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. As Xyler debriefed his senior staff later, the pattern became clear. Someone or something was trying to prevent them from reaching Earth. Yet at every turn, their efforts were thwarted by seemingly miraculous interventions. "It's Sophia," Lunara posited. "She's protecting us, even if she doesn't fully understand how or why." "But who's behind these attacks?" Catharn asked, her voice tinged with frustration. "We've found no evidence of intruders or external interference." Xyler paced the room, his mind racing. "Perhaps we're looking at this the wrong way. What if the threat isn't coming from outside the ship, but from within?" The implications of his words hung heavy in the air. If there was a traitor among them, someone working to sabotage their mission, how could they hope to complete their journey safely? As the Celestial Seeker continued its perilous voyage towards Earth, the crew found themselves caught in a web of cosmic intrigue. With each passing day, the mystery deepened, and the stakes grew higher. Sophia's importance to the galaxy was clear, but the true nature of her powers and the forces aligning against her remained shrouded in shadow. Xyler knew that reaching Earth was only the beginning. The real challenge lay in unraveling the conspiracy that seemed to span the stars themselves, with an innocent human child at its very center. As the Celestial Seeker entered Earth's orbit, an air of tense anticipation settled over the crew. Captain Xyler Vex stood at the helm, his compound eyes scanning the blue-green planet below. After weeks of narrowly avoiding disaster, their destination was finally within reach. "Prepare for atmospheric entry," Xyler commanded, his voice steady despite the unease gnawing at him. "And keep all sensors at maximum. I want to know if anything so much as twitches in our direction." The ship descended through layers of clouds, eventually touching down in a secluded area surrounded by towering trees and rolling hills. As the dust settled, a sleek vehicle approached, bearing the insignia of Earth's Interstellar Relations Department. A woman emerged from the vehicle, her posture rigid and her face a mask of professional detachment. She approached the ship's ramp as it lowered, revealing Captain Vex and his senior staff, with Sophia bouncing excitedly at their side. "Welcome to Earth," the woman said, her voice crisp and formal. "I'm Dr. Maya Thompson, head of xenobiology at the ERD, and—" Her eyes fixed on Sophia, a flicker of emotion crossing her face. Sophia's mother. Sophia, who had been chattering excitedly about showing her alien friends her home planet, fell suddenly silent. She regarded Dr. Thompson with a quizzical expression, tilting her head to one side as if trying to solve a puzzle. Captain Vex's antennae twitched, picking up on the sudden shift in atmosphere. "Dr. Thompson," he began cautiously, "we're grateful for your welcome. Perhaps we could discuss the details of Sophia's Unique situation in private? As they moved to a nearby facility, Zyler couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Dr. Thompson's story, while seemingly comprehensive, contained subtle inconsistencies that set his instincts on edge. Sophia was part of a classified research program, Dr. Thompson explained once they were seated in a secure conference room. She was genetically enhanced to survive extreme environments. The incident that left her on X-37 was a tragic accident during a routine test. Zyler's eyes narrowed. Interesting. Yet our scans showed no signs of artificial genetic manipulation. Sophia's adaptations seemed to be natural, if inexplicable. Dr. Thompson's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. Our methods are far beyond your current understanding of genetics, Captain. I assure you, everything about Sophia's abilities is the result of careful scientific work. As the discussion continued, more discrepancies emerged. Dr. Thompson's knowledge of Sophia's time on X-37 seemed oddly limited for a mother supposedly desperate to reunite with her child. Her explanations for the accidents that had plagued their journey were dismissive, attributing them to cosmic anomalies and mechanical failures. But it was Sophia's behavior that truly set alarm bells ringing in Zyler's mind. The usually bubbly and talkative child had become withdrawn, watching Dr. Thompson with an uncharacteristically wary expression. When addressed directly, her responses were short and guarded, a far cry from her normal enthusiastic chatter. During a brief recess, Zyler pulled his science officer aside. "Lunara, something's not right here. Run a deep scan on Dr. Thompson." Discreetly. Lunara nodded, her multiple arms already manipulating her handheld scanner. Moments later, her eyes widened in shock. "Captain," she whispered urgently, "Dr. Thompson's biosignature. It's not fully human. There are elements I can't identify, almost as if she's not from Earth at all," Zyler finished, his suspicions confirmed. Before they could discuss further, Dr. Thompson re-entered the room, Sophia trailing reluctantly behind her. "I believe we've covered everything," she announced. "It's time for Sophia to come home with me. We have much to catch up on." As she reached for Sophia's hand, the child suddenly recoiled, her eyes flashing with an otherworldly light. "You're not my mom," she said, her voice carrying an authority far beyond her years. "You're not even from here. Why are you lying?" The room fell into stunned silence. Dr. Thompson's facade cracked, her features shifting subtly, becoming less human with each passing second. "Clever child," she hissed, her voice taking on an alien cadence. "But you have no idea of the forces at play here. You belong to us, to Project Eden. It's time to fulfill your purpose." In an instant, chaos erupted. Dr. Thompson, or whatever she truly was, lunged for Sophia. Captain Vex and his crew sprang into action, but they were outmatched by the creature's inhuman speed and strength. Just as it seemed Sophia would be snatched away, the child raised her hands. A pulse of energy erupted from her small form, sending Dr. Thompson crashing into the wall. The facility's alarms blared to life, and the sound of approaching security forces filled the air. "Captain," Sophia said, turning to Zyler with eyes that held the wisdom of ages, "we need to leave. Now. Earth isn't safe, and there's so much more I need to show you." As they raced back to the Celestial Seeker, pursued by both Earth security and whatever faction Dr. Thompson represented, Zyler realized that their adventure was far from over. The conspiracy surrounding Sophia and Project Eden ran deeper than they could have imagined, spanning not just galaxies, but perhaps the very nature of reality itself. With Earth falling away behind them as they blasted into space, one thing was clear: the true journey was only just beginning. The Celestial Seeker docked at the sprawling Galactic Council space station, a neutral ground for diplomatic negotiations following the chaotic events on Earth. Captain Zyler Vex and his senior staff, including Security Chief Vorlax Cure, prepared to meet with representatives from various factions interested in Sophia and Project Eden. As the diplomatic talks began in a grand chamber, filled with beings from across the galaxy, Sophia fidgeted in her seat. Her eyes darted around the room, a mischievous glint in them that Vorlax had learned to be wary of. "I'm bored," Sophia whispered to Vorlax. "Can't we go explore?" "Absolutely not," Vorlax replied sternly. "This meeting is crucial for your safety and our understanding of the situation." But as the discussions droned on, filled with political jargon and thinly veiled threats, Vorlax's attention was momentarily drawn to a heated exchange between Captain Vex and a Rigelian ambassador. In that split second, Sophia vanished. Vorlax's heart raced as he scanned the room. "Captain," he whispered urgently to Xyler, "Sophia's gone." Xyler's mandibles clicked in frustration. "Find her, quickly and quietly. We can't afford an incident." Vorlax slipped out of the chamber, his highly tuned senses on full alert. He caught a glimpse of Sophia's shimmer. She was using one of her toys to bend light around herself, disappearing down a restricted corridor. "Sophia," he hissed, giving chase. "Come back here immediately." But the girl was remarkably adept at evading capture. She led Vorlax on a winding path through the station, bypassing security checkpoints with ease. It was as if the station systems simply didn't register her presence. Their chase brought them deeper into the heart of the station, to areas marked with the highest level of security clearance. Vorlax knew they were violating countless protocols, but his priority was Sophia's safety. Suddenly, Sophia materialized in front of a massive door marked Project Nexus Authorized Personnel Only. Before Vorlax could stop her, she placed her hand on the access panel. To his shock, the door slid open. "Sophia, we can't go in there," Vorlax protested, but the girl had already slipped inside. As Vorlax entered the restricted area, his jaw dropped. The room was filled with technology far beyond anything he had ever seen. Holographic displays showed star systems he didn't recognize, and in the center of the room stood a device that seemed to bend reality around it. Sophia moved through the room with purpose, her eyes glowing with that otherworldly light Vorlax had seen before. She approached a console and, to Vorlax's amazement, began interfacing with it as if she had built it herself. "Sophia," Vorlax said cautiously, "what is all this?" "It's a map," she replied, her voice carrying that strange, ancient quality. "A map of all the Edens, all the playgrounds. But it's incomplete. They don't understand how it all connects." As Sophia worked, information flooded the displays. Vorlax saw images of worlds like X-37, deadly environments teeming with impossible life. But there was more. Schematics for technology that could reshape planets, alter the fabric of space-time, even manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe. "Project Eden," Sophia murmured. "It's not just about making new worlds. It's about evolving the entire galaxy." But something went wrong. The creators forgot the purpose, and now they're fighting over the pieces. Vorlax's mind reeled as he began to understand. Project Eden wasn't just a terraforming initiative. It was an attempt to guide the evolution of the entire galaxy, and Sophia, somehow, was a key part of that plan. "We need to go," Vorlax said urgently, hearing alarms begin to blare in the distance. "We've seen too much." But as they turned to leave, they found their path blocked by a group of beings Vorlax didn't recognize. They weren't part of any known species, their forms shifting and changing as if they weren't fully part of this reality. "The Nexus child," one of them said, its voice resonating on multiple frequencies. "You've returned to us at last." Sophia stepped forward, unafraid. "You're the ones who started it all, aren't you? The first creators of Eden." The beings nodded in unison. "We seeded the galaxy with potential, child. But our time has passed. The future of Project Eden, the future of all life, rests with you now." Before Vorlax could intervene, a blinding light enveloped Sophia. When it faded, she stood transformed. She was still recognizably Sophia, but her eyes held the knowledge of eons, and her very presence seemed to warp the space around her. "I understand now," Sophia said, her voice echoing with power, "and I know what needs to be done." As alarms blared and security forces approached, Sophia turned to Vorlax with a smile that was both ancient and childlike. Don't worry, Mr. Vorlax. This isn't an ending. It's a new beginning for everyone. With a gesture, Sophia opened a portal in the air itself. As she stepped through, beckoning Vorlax to follow, he realized that their adventure had taken a turn beyond anything he could have imagined. The fate of the galaxy now rested in the hands of a child who had once called a Deathworld her playground. As the Celestial Seeker hurtled through space, its crew still reeling from the events at the Galactic Council Station, Tivar Saloon hunched over her workstation in the medical bay. Her multiple eyes darted between holographic displays of DNA sequences, her tentacles manipulating complex 3D models of molecular structures. For weeks, Tivaris had been obsessing over Sophia's unique genetic makeup, convinced that the key to understanding the child's extraordinary abilities lay hidden within her DNA. Now, as the ship's night cycle began, she felt she was on the verge of a breakthrough. Computer, run comparative analysis between Sophia's DNA and the biological samples from Deathworld X-37, Tivaris commanded, her voice hoarse from hours of non-stop work. As the analysis progressed, Tivaris's eyes widened in disbelief. "This can't be right," she muttered, initiating a series of verification protocols. But with each test, the results remained consistent, pointing to a conclusion that defied everything she thought she knew about human biology and evolution. "Captain Vex to the medical bay immediately," Tivaris called over the ship's comm system, her voice trembling with excitement and trepidation. Minutes later, Captain Xyler Vex burst into the medical bay, followed closely by Science Officer Lunara Threx and Security Chief Vorlax Kewer. "What have you found, Tivaris?" Xyler asked, his mandibles clicking with anticipation. Tivaris took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. "Captain, I've been analyzing Sophia's DNA, comparing it to both standard human genetic profiles and the biological samples we collected from X-37. The results are, well, they're revolutionary." She pulled up a holographic display showing two DNA helixes side by side. "This is standard human DNA," she explained, pointing to one strand. "And this," she continued, indicating the other, "is Sophia's." At first glance, the two appeared similar, but as Tivaris zoomed in, the differences became apparent. Sophia's DNA contained structures and sequences that were entirely alien to human genetics. "These anomalies," Tivaris explained, highlighting specific sections, "they're not random mutations. They're perfectly integrated, as if they were always meant to be there. And here's the truly astonishing part: they match, with 99.9% accuracy, genetic markers found in the flora and fauna of Deathworld X-37. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Lunara was the first to speak, her voice barely above a whisper. "Are you saying that Sophia is part Deathworld?" Tivaris nodded solemnly. "In a sense, yes. But it goes deeper than that. I've run the analysis multiple times, and the conclusion is inescapable. These genetic markers aren't just compatible with human DNA, they appear to be a long-dormant part of it." Captain Vex leaned in, his compound eyes focusing intently on the display. "Explain," he demanded. "Captain," Tivaris said, her voice filled with awe, "I believe that all humans carry within them the genetic potential to adapt to environments like X-37. Sophia isn't an anomaly, she's the realization of that potential." The implications were staggering. If Tivaris was correct, it meant that humans were not native to Earth, as they had always believed. Their true origins lay somewhere far more hostile, far more alien. "But how is this possible?" Vorlax asked, his security training pushing him to look for logical explanations. "Humans evolved on Earth. Their fossil record is incomplete," Lunara interjected, her scientific mind racing ahead. "There have always been gaps, unexplained leaps in human evolution. What if humans were seeded on Earth, placed there to develop in a safer environment, with their true potential locked away in their genes?" Tivaris nodded enthusiastically. "Exactly, and Sophia, somehow, has unlocked that potential. She's not just adapting to X-37, she's returning to a form that humans were always meant to take." Captain Vex paced the medical bay, his mind grappling with the enormity of this revelation. This changes everything we thought we knew about Project Eden, about the Deathworlds, about human history itself. Captain, Lunara said, her voice filled with urgency, if this is true, then Sophia isn't just a key to understanding the Deathworlds. She's the key to unlocking the true potential of the entire human race. As the senior staff debated the implications of this discovery, none of them noticed the small figure listening intently from the shadows of the medical bay entrance. Sophia, her eyes glowing with that now familiar otherworldly light, smiled to herself. They're starting to understand, she whispered to herself. But there's still so much more to learn. With silent steps, Sophia slipped away from the medical bay, leaving the adults to their discussions. She had her own plans, her own destiny to fulfill. The truth about humanity's connection to the Deathworlds was just the beginning. The real adventure, the awakening of an entire species to its cosmic heritage, was about to begin. As the Celestial Seeker continued its journey through the stars, it carried within it not just a remarkable child, but the seeds of a revolution that would reshape the galaxy itself. The Celestial Seeker hummed with nervous energy as it approached the Galactic Council's central space station. Captain Xyler Vex and his crew had spent days preparing their presentation, knowing that the revelations about Sophia and human origins would send shockwaves through the galactic community. As the senior staff gathered for a final briefing in the conference room, Sophia sat quietly in the corner, her eyes distant as if listening to something only she could hear. Remember, Xyler addressed his team. What we're about to present will challenge everything the Council thinks they know about humans and Project Eden. We need to be prepared for. His words were cut short by a deafening explosion that rocked the ship. Alarms blared as the lights flickered and died, plunging the room into darkness. We're under attack, Vorlax shouted, already moving to secure the room. But before anyone could react further, a noxious gas began seeping through the ventilation system. The alien crew members began to choke and stumble, their varied physiologies succumbing to the unknown toxin. Sophia, Lunara cried out, reaching for the child even as her vision began to blur. But Sophia was already in motion. With a grace and speed that belied her young age, she darted to a nearby panel, prying it open with surprising strength. "This way," she called out, her voice carrying an authority that cut through the chaos. "The vents are safe." As the crew hesitated, struggling against the effects of the gas, Sophia's eyes flashed with that now familiar otherworldly light. "Trust me," she said, "this is just like the mist maze back home. Follow my lead, and we'll be okay." One by one, the senior staff followed Sophia into the narrow maintenance shafts. As they crawled through the labyrinthine network of tubes and passages, Sophia navigated with unerring confidence. "How do you know where to go?" Tivaris asked, marveling at the child's certainty. Sophia grinned back at her. "The ship talks to me, just like the plants on X-37. It's telling me where the bad air is and how to avoid it." As they emerged into a secondary control room, the gravity suddenly failed. The alien crew members flailed in the Zoji environment, but Sophia laughed with delight. "It's just like the floating pools and the crystal caves," she exclaimed. "Here, let me show you how to swim through the air." With Sophia's guidance, the team managed to navigate the gravity-free corridors, making their way towards the bridge. Along the way, they encountered more traps and obstacles, electrified barriers, holographic illusions, and even a section where the very fabric of space seemed to warp and twist. At each turn, Sophia's experiences on X-37 proved invaluable. She taught them how to sense energy fields like the tickle vines, how to distinguish real threats from illusions like the giggle goo, and how to move through distorted space like she did in the upside-down waterfalls. As they finally reached the bridge, they found it in chaos. Security personnel were engaged in a firefight with a group of intruders, their energy weapons scorching the walls. "Look out!" Sophia cried, pulling Captain Vex down just as a blast of energy seared the air where his head had been. As the firefight intensified, Sophia closed her eyes, concentrating deeply. Suddenly, the ship's systems came to life, responding to her unspoken commands. Force fields sprang up, separating the intruders from the crew. The artificial gravity reasserted itself, but only for the attackers, pinning them to the floor. With the immediate threat neutralized, Xyler turned to Sophia in amazement. "How did you do that?" Sophia shrugged. "I asked the ship nicely, and it listened." As security began to round up the incapacitated intruders, a shocking discovery was made. Among the attackers was a familiar face, Dr. Ethan Rodriguez, one of the human scientists who had been working with the Galactic Council on Project Eden research. "Ethan?" Lunara gasped. "But why?" The human scientist spat bitterly. "You don't understand what's at stake. If the truth about human origins gets out, it'll destabilize everything. Some secrets are meant to stay buried." As Ethan was led away, the full weight of the situation settled over the crew. The conspiracy surrounding Project Eden and humanity's true nature ran deeper than they had imagined, reaching into the highest levels of galactic society. Captain Vex turned to his crew, his expression grim but determined. "It's clear now that there are powerful forces that don't want this information revealed, but we have a duty to the truth and to Sophia." He knelt down to Sophia's level, meeting her wise, ancient eyes. "Are you ready for what comes next? Once we present our findings to the Council, nothing will ever be the same." Sophia smiled, a mix of childlike excitement and ageless wisdom in her expression. "I'm ready, Captain. It's time for everyone to wake up and see the real playground we've been given." As the Celestial Seeker docked with a Galactic Council station, its crew knew they were on the precipice of changing the course of galactic history. With Sophia by their side, they prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead, armed with the truth and the remarkable abilities of a child who had made a Deathworld her home. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council fell into an uproar as Captain Xyler Vex concluded his presentation. The evidence of humanity's true origins and Sophia's extraordinary abilities had been laid bare, challenging millennia of established galactic knowledge. "Preposterous!" bellowed the Arcturian representative, his crystalline form shimmering with indignation. "You expect us to believe that humans, a primitive species, are the key to unlocking the secrets of the Deathworlds?" Before Xyler could respond, the Zeta Reticulan Arbiter raised a spindly appendage. "While the captain's tale is intriguing, we cannot base galactic policy on the abilities of a single child. For the safety of all, we order the immediate containment of the human known as Sophia pending further investigation." "You can't do that," Lunara protested, but her words were drowned out by the Council's murmurs of agreement. As security drones moved to apprehend Sophia, she caught Xyler's eye and winked. "Don't worry, Captain," she said with a mischievous grin. "I'm good at timeouts." Before anyone could react, Sophia vanished in a flash of light, leaving the council chamber in chaos. Alarms blared throughout the station as search parties were mobilized. Captain Vex and his crew found themselves detained, suspected of aiding in Sophia's escape. "We need to find her before they do," Xyler whispered to his team as they were led to a holding area. "Whatever Sophia's planning, I have a feeling it's going to change everything." Meanwhile, Sophia was having the time of her life. She flitted through the station's restricted areas, her Deathworld-honed instincts allowing her to evade capture with ease. But she wasn't just running, she was enacting a plan that had been forming in her mind since they'd arrived. In the station's central power core, Sophia interfaced with the main computer, her eyes glowing with otherworldly energy. "Time to wake everyone up," she murmured. Suddenly, every screen on the station flickered to life, displaying a swirling pattern that seemed to shift and change, defying the eye's ability to focus. As beings throughout the station found themselves mesmerized by the display, something extraordinary began to happen. Humans and aliens alike experienced flashes of memory, not their own, but ancestral recollections of worlds long forgotten. Deathworlds teeming with life, civilizations rising and falling, and a grand plan to seed the galaxy with potential. In the holding area, Xyler and his crew watched in amazement as their guards dropped their weapons, overcome by the visions. "What's happening?" Vorlax asked, his security training warring with the alien memories flooding his mind. "Sophia," Lunara breathed. "She's unlocking something in all of us." As the visions intensified, the station systems began to malfunction. Gravity fluctuated wildly, atmospheric controls went haywire, and the very structure of the station seemed to warp and shift. "She's destabilizing the entire station," Tivaris exclaimed. "At this rate, it'll tear itself apart." Xyler realized the gravity of the situation. "We need to work together, all of us, to stabilize the station. It's the only way to survive." And so, in a scene that would have been unthinkable hours before, humans and aliens from across the galaxy found themselves working side by side. Engineers from a dozen worlds collaborated to reroute power. Security forces of various species coordinated to evacuate endangered areas, and scientists pooled their knowledge to counteract the reality-warping effects of Sophia's intervention. Through it all, Sophia's voice echoed through the station's comm systems, guiding and encouraging. "That's it," she cheered. "Remember how to play together. The universe is the biggest playground of all." As the crisis reached its peak, with the station on the brink of collapse, something remarkable happened. The combined efforts of the unified crew, their minds expanded by the unlocked memories, began to resonate with the station itself. The chaotic energies stabilized, coalescing into a new form of technology that defied current scientific understanding. In the heart of the transformed station, they found Sophia, surrounded by a swirling vortex of energy and information. "Do you see now?" she asked, her voice echoing with the wisdom of ages. "This is what we can accomplish when we remember who we really are." As the dust settled and the immediate danger passed, the inhabitants of the station found themselves forever changed. The artificial divisions between species began to dissolve as they recognized their shared heritage and potential. Captain Xyler Vex, standing amidst the transformed central chamber with his diverse crew, realized that Sophia's timeout had achieved more than any formal presentation ever could. She had forced the galaxy to confront its shared past and united them in facing an uncertain but thrilling future. The race against time had been won, but the true journey, the awakening of an entire galaxy to its interconnected destiny, was only just beginning. As the Galactic Council station hummed with newfound unity and purpose, Reichsel Vorn sequestered himself in the vast archives. The team's historian had been struck by a nagging sense of familiarity during Sophia's reality-altering display, and he was determined to uncover its source. Hours of feverish research later, Reichsel's eyes widened as he came across an ancient text, its script barely legible after millennia of neglect. "By the cosmic winds," he breathed, his tentacles trembling as he began to translate. Meanwhile, on the transformed bridge of the Celestial Seeker, Captain Xyler Vex and his senior staff were discussing their next move when Reichsel burst in, clutching a data pad. "Captain," he panted, "I've found something. A prophecy dating back to the early days of the Galactic Council. It speaks of a child from the Deathworld who will reshape the cosmos." As Reichsel read aloud, the crew listened in stunned silence. "From the world of death, a seedling grows. In toxic soil where no life shows. A child of two realms with power untold. To wake the sleepers, both young and old. The veil will lift, the truth revealed. Ancient bonds no longer concealed. But beware the choice that must be made. For in her hands two futures wait. Unite the stars in cosmic dance. Or shatter all with a single glance. The Deathworld's child, a key and lock. To save us all, or run out the clock." As the final words hung in the air, the crew exchanged uneasy glances. The prophecy's implications were clear. Sophia was more than just a unique child. She was potentially the fulcrum upon which the fate of the galaxy balanced. "This changes everything," Lunara Threx said, her scientific mind racing. "If this prophecy is true, then Sophia isn't just a subject of study. She's the key to our entire future." Vorlax Cure, ever the pragmatist, interjected, "Or our destruction. The prophecy speaks of two possible outcomes. we can't ignore the risk she poses." The crew quickly divided into factions. Some, like Lunara and Tivaris, argued passionately for protecting and nurturing Sophia, believing her to be the galaxy's best hope for a united future. Others, led by Vorlax, advocated for caution, suggesting that Sophia's powers might be too dangerous to allow free reign. Catharn Solis, torn between her duty and her growing affection for Sophia, turned to Xylar. "Captain, what do you think we should do?" Xylar's compound eyes flickered as he weighed the options. The prophecy had thrown everything into question. His mission, once clearly defined, now seemed fraught with cosmic significance. "We need to consider all angles," he began cautiously. "Sophia has shown incredible abilities, but also a wisdom beyond her years. Yet we can't ignore the potential danger." As the debate intensified, Zypher Kal, who had been quietly analyzing the prophecy, spoke up. "There's something we're overlooking. The prophecy doesn't say the child will definitely destroy or save us. It says she has the potential for both. The outcome depends on the choices we make." This observation gave everyone pause. They had been so focused on Sophia's power that they had forgotten their own agency in shaping the future. Xylar nodded slowly, coming to a decision. "We won't contain Sophia, but we also won't give her free rein. Our job is to guide her, to help her understand the weight of her choices. We'll be her mentors, her protectors, and if necessary, her restraints." He turned to address his crew, his voice firm with resolve. "From this moment on, our mission is clear. We will work together to help Sophia navigate her destiny. We'll explore the Deathworlds, uncover the secrets of Project Eden, and prepare the galaxy for the changes to come." Xylar's gaze swept across his diverse crew, seeing the doubt, hope, and determination in their faces. "I won't order any of you to stay on this mission. The risks are enormous, and the future uncertain. If any of you wish to leave, I'll understand." A moment of tense silence followed. Then, one by one, each crew member stepped forward, pledging their commitment to the mission and to Sophia. As if summoned by their decision, Sophia appeared in the doorway, her eyes glowing softly. "You've made the right choice," she said, her voice carrying echoes of ancient wisdom. "The playground is about to get a lot bigger, and we'll all need to learn new games." Xylar knelt before Sophia, meeting her gaze. "We're ready to learn, little one. Lead the way." As the Celestial Seeker prepared to embark on its new mission, the crew knew they were venturing into uncharted territory. The prophecy had set them on a course that would challenge everything they thought they knew about the universe. But with Sophia as their guide and their diverse skills united in purpose, they faced the unknown future with determination and hope. The Deathworld's child had brought them together, and together they would shape the destiny of the galaxy. The Celestial Seeker descended through Earth's atmosphere, cloaked from detection by technology that seemed to respond instinctively to Sophia's presence. Captain Xylar Vex stood on the bridge, watching as the blue-green planet grew larger in the viewscreen. "Are you sure about this, Sophia?" he asked, his mandibles clicking nervously. The young girl nodded, her eyes fixed on a seemingly unremarkable patch of ocean. "It's there, Captain. The oldest playground of all." As they approached the coordinates Sophia had provided, the ocean's surface began to shimmer and distort. Suddenly, a massive structure emerged from the depths, its architecture a mind-bending fusion of organic forms and crystalline geometries. "By the cosmic winds," Lunara breathed, her scientific instruments going haywire. "It's putting out energy readings unlike anything I've ever seen." The structure opened like a blooming flower, revealing a docking bay that seemed to anticipate the exact dimensions of the Celestial Seeker. As they landed, Sophia led the team through corridors that lit up at her approach, responding to some unspoken command. "This place," Reichselvorn mused, his historian's mind racing. "It must predate known human civilization by millennia. Yet it bears markings similar to dozens of alien cultures." Sophia smiled enigmatically. "It's older than that, Mr. Reichsel. This is where it all began." They entered a vast chamber dominated by a holographic display of the galaxy. At its center stood a pedestal with a hand-shaped impression. Without hesitation, Sophia placed her small hand into the depression. The chamber hummed to life, the holographic display spinning and zooming, focusing on various points throughout the galaxy. Images flashed by, primitive humans interacting with alien beings, ancient civilizations rising and falling, and recurring symbols that matched those found on Deathworld X-37. "It's a historical record," Tavares exclaimed, her medical training allowing her to recognize the genetic manipulations being displayed. "It's showing the seeding of humans throughout the galaxy, their adaptation to various environments, including the Deathworlds." Vorlax, ever vigilant, noticed something troubling in the display. "Captain, look at the current era. Something's wrong." The hologram zoomed in on the present day, showing a wave of energy spreading across the galaxy. Worlds that had once been vibrant were going dark, their unique properties fading. "The Deathworlds," Lunara realized with a gasp. "They're losing their special characteristics. But why?" Sophia's voice took on that eerily mature tone they had come to associate with her tapping into ancient knowledge. "The balance is shifting. The galaxy is forgetting, and as it forgets, it's dying." The display shifted again, showing a future where the diverse ecosystems of the Deathworlds had been reduced to lifeless rocks, their incredible potential lost forever. The wave of entropy spread, engulfing world after world, species after species. "This is what the prophecy warned about," Reichsel said, his tentacles trembling. "The choice between uniting the stars or shattering everything." Sophia nodded solemnly. The Deathworlds were meant to be crucibles of evolution, pushing life to its limits and unlocking the true potential of every species. But fear and misunderstanding led to isolation and forgetting. Now, the galaxy is losing the very thing that was meant to ensure its growth and survival. Captain Vex stepped forward, his compound eyes reflecting the dire future displayed before them. "How do we stop this, Sophia? What can we do?" The young girl turned to the diverse crew, a smile breaking through her serious demeanor. "We remind them. We show the galaxy how to play together again. Each of you represents a piece of the puzzle, different worlds, different adaptations, all working in harmony." She waved her hand, and the holographic display shifted once more. It showed the celestial seeker traveling from world to world, awakening dormant potential in various species, reigniting the special properties of the Deathworlds. "This is our mission," Sophia declared, "to reactivate the Deathworlds, to help every species remember their true heritage and potential. Only by embracing diversity and challenge can the galaxy evolve to face the trials ahead." As the implications of their task sank in, the crew of the Celestial Seeker realized that their adventure had taken on a scope far beyond anything they had imagined. They weren't just exploring the mystery of one child or one world, they were tasked with saving the entire galaxy from a slow descent into stagnation and death. Xyler Vex straightened, his resolve hardening. "Well, crew, it seems our playground just got a lot bigger. Are we ready for the challenge?" One by one, the alien crew members nodded, their diverse backgrounds and skills united in a common purpose. Sophia beamed at them, her eyes twinkling with a mix of childlike excitement and ancient wisdom. "Then let the games begin," she said, activating a sequence on the pedestal. The ancient structure hummed with power, interfacing with the Celestial Seeker and imbuing it with new capabilities. As they prepared to embark on their galaxy-spanning mission, the crew knew they were stepping into legend. Guided by a child who bridged worlds, they would rewrite the story of life itself, one Deathworld at a time. The fate of the galaxy now rested in their hands, and the greatest adventure of all was just beginning. The Celestial Seeker erupted from its underwater haven, bursting through the ocean's surface in a spectacular display of alien technology. But their emergence didn't go unnoticed. Almost immediately, the ship's sensors lit up with multiple incoming signals. "Captain," Catharn Solis called out, her voice tense, "we've got company. Multiple ships converging on our position. I'm detecting Galactic Council peacekeepers, Earth military forces, and several unidentified craft." Xyler Vex's mandibles clicked rapidly as he assessed the situation. It seems our discovery hasn't gone unnoticed. Vorlax, what are our options? Before the security chief could respond, Sophia piped up, her eyes gleaming with excitement. Oh, I know. Let's play tag. The alien crew exchanged bewildered glances. Sophia, Lunara began gently, I don't think now is the time for— No, you don't understand, Sophia interrupted, her voice taking on that uncanny maturity. Tag isn't just a game. It's about evasion, quick thinking, and using your environment. It's perfect. As the pursuing ships drew closer, Sophia's idea suddenly didn't seem so childish. With a nod from Captain Vex, she took control, interfacing with the ship's systems in a way that left even Zypher and Kal, their engineer, in awe. Okay, everyone, Sophia announced, her voice echoing through the ship. Here are the rules. We're it, and we have to tag the other ships by tapping into their systems. But if they catch us, game over. Ready? Go. What followed was a chase unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Celestial Seeker, guided by Sophia's intuitive understanding of both the ship's capabilities and Earth's geography, danced through the sky in impossible patterns. They skimmed the surface of the Sahara, kicking up a sandstorm that confused their pursuers' sensors. Sophia laughed with delight as she guided the ship through the twisting canyons of the Grand Canyon, treating the deadly rock formations like an oversized obstacle course. Watch this, she exclaimed, directing the ship into a steep dive towards the ocean. Just as it seemed they would crash, the Celestial Seeker plunged beneath the waves, using the ship's newly acquired amphibious capabilities to evade detection. The alien crew, initially skeptical, found themselves caught up in Sophia's enthusiasm. They began to see the deadly pursuit through her eyes, not as a life-threatening situation, but as an exhilarating game where the stakes just happened to be a bit higher than usual. As they emerged from the ocean near the icy cliffs of Antarctica, Sophia guided the ship through a series of loops and spins that would have incapacitated a less adaptable crew. Look, she pointed out, the Earth ships can't follow us here. Their systems aren't designed for these maneuvers. Tag. With a burst of energy, the Celestial Seeker tapped into the nearest Earth vessel's communications, temporarily disabling it in a way that mimicked a playful tag. The Galactic Council ships proved to be more challenging opponents. Their advanced technology allowed them to keep pace, but Sophia's unpredictable tactics kept them off balance. They're thinking like grown-ups, Sophia explained as she guided the ship through the eye of a hurricane, using the storm's energy to boost their speed. Always looking for the logical move. But the fun moves are the ones they don't expect. As the chase continued across the globe, from the peaks of the Himalayas to the depths of the Mariana Trench, the pursuing ships began to drop off one by one. Some were tagged by Sophia's clever use of the Celestial Seeker systems, while others simply couldn't keep up with the relentless pace and unpredictable trajectory. Throughout it all, Sophia maintained an air of joyous excitement, treating each near miss as a thrilling close call in a game rather than a brush with death. Her attitude was infectious, and soon even the most serious members of the crew found themselves suggesting daring maneuvers and creative ways to tag their pursuers. As the sun began to set on their global game of tag, only one ship remained in pursuit, a sleek, black vessel of unknown origin that had matched their every move. Ooh, they're good, Sophia said with admiration. But I think it's time for the final round. With a mischievous grin, she guided the Celestial Seeker towards the North Pole. As they approached the magnetic field, Sophia's eyes glowed with that now familiar otherworldly light. Hold on tight, she warned. We're about to bend the rules a little. In a maneuver that defied the laws of physics, as the crew understood them, Sophia used the Earth's magnetic field to catapult the ship into a brief fold in space-time. They emerged moments later on the other side of the planet, leaving their final pursuer far behind. As the adrenaline of the chase began to fade, Captain Vex turned to Sophia, his expression a mix of awe and concern. That was incredible, Sophia, but also incredibly dangerous. Do you understand the risks we just took? Sophia nodded, her expression suddenly serious. "Of course, Captain. But sometimes the only way to win is to play the game differently than anyone expects. The galaxy is full of dangers, but it's also full of wonders. We just have to learn to see them both for what they really are, opportunities to grow and explore." As the celestial seeker set a course for the stars, leaving Earth and its pursuers behind, the crew realized that their perspective on danger and on the universe itself had been forever changed by this extraordinary child from a Deathworld. Their mission to reawaken the galaxy's potential had only just begun, but already they were seeing the cosmos through new, more wonder-filled eyes. The game was on, and the entire galaxy was their playground. As the celestial seeker journeyed deeper into space, the euphoria of their daring escape gradually gave way to a renewed sense of purpose. Captain Xyler Vex had ordered a course for the nearest known Deathworld, intent on beginning their mission to reawaken the galaxy's dormant potential. However, their plans were abruptly derailed when Sophia, who had been interfacing with the ship's enhanced systems, suddenly went rigid, her eyes glowing with an intensity that alarmed even the most stoic crew members. "Sophia," Lunara approached cautiously. "What is it? What do you see?" The young girl's voice, when she spoke, echoed with the weight of eons. "It's time. We need to go to the Nexus." Without warning, the ship's controls came to life, plotting a course to coordinates deep in uncharted space. As the crew scrambled to make sense of their new destination, a holographic display materialized in the center of the bridge, showing a massive space station unlike anything they had ever seen. "The Nexus," Sophia explained, her voice returning to normal. "It's where I was born, where I was created." The revelation sent shockwaves through the crew. They had all wondered about Sophia's origins, but the implications of her being created rather than born naturally were staggering. As they approached the Nexus, the true scale of the station became apparent. It was a marvel of engineering, a fusion of organic and technological elements that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Upon docking, they were met by a group of beings that defied easy classification. They were neither fully organic nor fully artificial, existing in a state of constant flux between multiple forms. "Welcome, Sophia," one of the beings said, its voice resonating on multiple frequencies. "And welcome to her guardians. We are the architects, and it is time you understood the truth." What followed was a revelation that shook the foundations of everything the crew thought they knew. The architects explained that Sophia was not merely a gifted child, but the culmination of a grand experiment spanning millennia. The galaxy was dying, the lead architect explained. Species were becoming stagnant, unable to adapt to the challenges that awaited them. We created the Deathworlds as crucibles of evolution and seeded them with potential. Sophia is the living embodiment of that potential, a bridge between all species, capable of unlocking the dormant abilities in every form of life. The implications were staggering. Sophia wasn't just special, she was, in a very real sense, the key to the galaxy's survival and evolution. As the crew grappled with this information, a moral dilemma began to take shape. Vorlax was the first to voice the concern that weighed on all their minds. "You created her," he said, his voice tight with suppressed emotion. "Engineered her for a specific purpose. How is that any different from slavery?" The question hung heavy in the air. The human members of the crew, Dr. Alex Carter and Maya Thompson, exchanged troubled glances. As humans, the idea of a child being created for a specific purpose struck a particularly sensitive chord. "It's not just about Sophia," Maya argued. "What about all the species seeded on the Deathworlds? Were they given a choice in this grand experiment?" The architects remained calm in the face of these accusations. "We understand your concerns," one said. "But you must understand this was not done lightly or without consideration for the ethical implications. The alternative was the slow death of all life in the galaxy." Sophia, who had been quietly observing the exchange, stepped forward. "I know what you're all thinking," she said, her voice carrying a wisdom far beyond her years. "You're worried that I'm being used, that I didn't have a choice. But that's not true. Every game I've played, every adventure I've had, they were all preparing me for this, and I choose to accept this role." Her words gave everyone pause. Captain Vex, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. "But Sophia, you're just a child. How can you possibly understand the weight of this responsibility?" Sophia smiled, a mix of innocence and ancient knowledge in her eyes. "I'm not just a child, Captain. I'm every child who ever lived on a Deathworld, every being who faced impossible odds and thrived. I'm the sum of all that potential, and I understand my purpose better than anyone." The crew found themselves at a crossroads. The moral implications of Sophia's existence and the architect's grand plan were complex and troubling. Yet the reality of the galaxy's dire situation couldn't be ignored. As debates raged among the crew, humans arguing for individual choice, aliens weighing the needs of the many against the rights of the few, Sophia watched with patient understanding. She knew that this struggle, this grappling with difficult truths and ethical dilemmas, was itself part of the growth the galaxy needed. In the end, it was Lunara who offered a perspective that began to bridge the divide. "Perhaps," she suggested, "our role isn't to judge the past or to make decisions for Sophia. Maybe our purpose is to support her, to be the family and crew she needs as she undertakes this monumental task." As understanding dawned, the crew of the Celestial Seeker realized that their mission had evolved once again. They were no longer just explorers or guardians, they were now partners in a cosmic journey of awakening and evolution. With renewed purpose, they prepared to face the challenges ahead, knowing that the moral complexities they grappled with were just the beginning of the transformative journey that awaited them and the entire galaxy. The Celestial Seeker hurtled through space, its advanced engines pushing the limits of known physics. In the ship's common area, an atmosphere of tense anticipation hung in the air. Captain Xyler Vex stood before his assembled crew, his compound eyes reflecting the gravity of their situation. "We have no choice," he announced, his mandibles clicking nervously. "To save the galaxy, we must return to where it all began, Deathworld X-37. A collective shudder ran through the alien crew members. The memories of their first harrowing visit to the deadly planet were still fresh in their minds. Vorlax Cure's exoskeleton paled visibly, while Tivaris Alun's tentacles curled tightly around her medical kit. In stark contrast, Sophia bounced with excitement, her eyes shining with unbridled joy. "We're going home," she exclaimed, clapping her hands. "Oh, I can't wait to show you all my favorite spots." Lunara Threx exchanged a worried glance with Catharn Solis. "Sophia," Lunara began gently, "you do remember how dangerous X-37 is for us, don't you?" Sophia nodded, her expression suddenly serious. "Of course I do. But that's what makes it so special. Every challenge is a chance to grow, to become something more. That's what the Deathworlds are all about." As the ship entered X-37's orbit, the crew prepared for descent. They donned their most advanced protective gear, triple-checking every seal and system. Sophia, however, wore only a simple jumpsuit, insisting that anything more would spoil the fun. The landing was rough, the planet's volatile atmosphere buffeting the ship mercilessly. As the dust settled and the ramp lowered, the alien crew hesitated, the deadly world before them seeming even more menacing than they remembered. Sophia, on the other hand, bounded down the ramp with a whoop of joy. "Come on, slowpokes," she called back. "The Whispering Willows are in bloom, and we don't want to miss the Firefly dance." Cautiously, the team followed Sophia into the alien landscape. Almost immediately, they encountered new horrors that hadn't been present during their first visit. Crystalline structures erupted from the ground, their razor-sharp edges glinting ominously. The air itself seemed to shimmer with barely contained energy, each breath feeling like it might be their last. "Fascinating," Zypher Enkal muttered, his scientific curiosity momentarily overriding his fear. "The planet's ecosystem appears to be evolving at an accelerated rate." "It's not just evolving," Sophia explained, skipping over a pool of what looked like liquid fire. "It's waking up. The whole planet missed me. It's putting on a show for us." As if to emphasize her point, A massive tentacled creature burst from the ground, its maw lined with rows of gnashing teeth. The alien crew froze in terror, certain that their end had come. But Sophia merely laughed, reaching out to pat one of the creature's writhing tentacles. "Hey there, Mr. Squiggles. Did you get bigger while I was gone?" To the crew's astonishment, the monstrous being purred contentedly at Sophia's touch before sinking back into the earth. As they pressed deeper into the planet's interior, following Sophia's lead, the dangers only intensified. They navigated fields of explosive spores, crossed rivers of acid that flowed uphill, and dodged the attentions of predators that seemed to phase in and out of reality. Through it all, Sophia's enthusiasm never wavered. She treated each deadly obstacle as an exciting game, teaching the crew how to play with a planet's hazards. Slowly, the aliens began to see X-37 through her eyes, not as a death trap, but as a challenging playground designed to push them to their limits. "Look!" Sophia pointed excitedly as they crested a hill. Before them stretched a valley filled with pulsating, biolite plants. The heart of the world. This is where we need to go to reawaken the planet's full potential. But as they prepared to descend into the valley, a new threat emerged. The sky darkened as a massive ship broke through the atmosphere, the same black vessel that had pursued them from Earth. "Oh no," Sophia whispered, her voice tinged with genuine fear for the first time. "They found us. The ones who want to keep the galaxy asleep." Captain Vex stepped forward, his resolve hardening. "Then we'll just have to show them how to play by our rules. Sophia, what's our next move in this game?" As Sophia's eyes lit up with that familiar mix of childlike glee and ancient wisdom, the crew of the Celestial Seeker prepared to face their greatest challenge yet. The fate of not just X-37, but the entire galaxy, hung in the balance, and as the deadly world around them pulsed with awakening energy, they knew that the true test of their newfound understanding was about to begin. The Deathworld gambit was on, and the stakes had never been higher. As the ominous black ship loomed overhead, Captain Xyler Vex and his crew followed Sophia's lead, descending into the Biolite Valley. The heart of the world pulsed with an otherworldly energy, each beat sending ripples of light cascading through the alien flora. "We need to hurry," Sophia urged, her usual playfulness tempered by a sense of urgency. "The sleepers are coming, and they'll try to stop us from waking up the planet." The team pressed on, navigating through a landscape that seemed to grow more lethal with each step. Crystalline flowers erupted from the ground, their petals razor-sharp and dripping with a substance that hissed and smoked as it hit the soil. The air itself became thick with spores that glowed and shifted colors, each hue representing a different deadly effect. Lunar Threx, monitoring their life signs, called out in alarm. "Captain, these spores are adapting to our protective gear. We have minutes at most before they breach our defenses." But Sophia remained calm. "It's okay," she assured them. "The planet is just trying to figure out if we're here to play or not. Watch this." To the crew's horror, Sophia took a deep breath of the spore-filled air. Instead of harming her, the spores swirled around her in a dazzling display before being absorbed into her skin. "See? You just have to show it you're not afraid." Inspired by Sophia's fearlessness, the crew cautiously followed suit. To their amazement, as each of them demonstrated trust in the deadly environment, the spores responded differently, enhancing rather than harming them. "Incredible," Xyler marveled, his sensors going haywire. "The spores are temporarily altering our genetic structure, adapting us to the planet's conditions." As they reached the center of the valley, a massive structure came into view. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, a towering megastructure that seemed to be part machine, part organic matter. Its surface shifted and pulsed, responding to some unseen rhythm. "The Nexus Core," Sophia announced, her voice filled with awe. "This is where we can reawaken X-37's full potential and send a signal to all the other Deathworlds." But as they approached, they found their path blocked by an enormous energy field. Symbols and patterns danced across its surface, rearranging themselves in mind-bending configurations. "It's a puzzle," Reichselvorn realized, his historian's mind racing to decipher the ancient symbols. We need to solve it to gain entry. The crew set to work, each applying their unique expertise to unravel the mystery. Lunara analyzed the energy patterns, while Zypher attempted to interface with the structure systems. Reichsel pored over the symbols, searching for historical connections. But as the minutes ticked by and the black ship drew ever closer, frustration mounted. The puzzle seemed to defy all logic, its patterns shifting faster than they could comprehend. "It's impossible," Vorlax growled, his security training useless in the face of this ancient challenge. "There's no discernible pattern, no consistent rule set." Sophia, who had been quietly observing, suddenly giggled. "You're all thinking like grown-ups again," she said with a smile. "This isn't a test of knowledge or skill. It's an invitation to play." Before anyone could stop her, Sophia approached the energy field. Instead of trying to solve the puzzle, she began to dance, her movements mimicking the swirling patterns. To everyone's astonishment, the field responded, its symbols moving in sync with Sophia's playful choreography. "Come on," she called out. "Everyone needs to play together." Hesitantly at first, then with growing enthusiasm, the crew joined in. Captain Vex's multi-limbed form created complex geometries, while T-Verse's tentacles wove intricate patterns in the air. Each crew member contributed their own unique dance, their movements blending with the puzzle's shifting symbols. As they played together, the logic of the puzzle revealed itself. It wasn't about finding a single correct answer, but about demonstrating harmony, adaptability, and joy in the face of complexity. With a final, jubilant flourish from Sophia, the energy field dissolved. The entrance to the Nexus core yawned open before them, pulsing with potential. "We did it," Sophia cheered, hugging each crew member in turn. "We showed the core that we understand what the Deathworlds are really about: growing, adapting, and having fun even when things seem impossible." As they prepared to enter the ancient megastructure, the sound of the approaching ship grew louder. The true test still lay ahead, but the crew of the Celestial Seeker now moved forward with a new understanding. They had experienced firsthand the power of Sophia's perspective, the ability to see opportunity where others saw only danger, and to find joy in the most challenging circumstances. Captain Vex, his compound eyes reflecting the swirling energies of the Nexus core, turned to his crew. "Well done, everyone. Now, let's go wake up a planet and save the galaxy, and remember, don't forget to have fun while we're at it." With Sophia leading the way, her eyes shining with excitement and ancient wisdom, they stepped into the heart of X-37's mysteries, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them with newfound courage, unity, and a touch of childlike wonder. As the team entered the Nexus core, the organic mechanical structure seemed to come alive around them. Pulsating lights raced along the walls, and the air hummed with an energy that set their nerves on edge. Sophia, however, bounced ahead with unbridled enthusiasm. "Oh, this is going to be so much fun," she exclaimed. "The core wants to play with us." No sooner had the words left her mouth than the first challenge presented itself. The corridor ahead suddenly filled with a swirling, prismatic mist. Lunara's sensors went haywire as she tried to analyze it. "Captain," she reported, her voice tense, "this mist contains a complex cocktail of hallucinogens and neurotoxins. One breath could drive us mad or kill us outright." The alien crew members recoiled, but Sophia stepped forward fearlessly. "It's just like the rainbow clouds back home," she said. "You have to learn to see through the pretty colors to find the truth underneath." As Sophia navigated the mist with ease, the crew watched in amazement. Her movements were precise, avoiding the most concentrated areas of toxins, while using the hallucinogenic properties to perceive hidden pathways. "Remarkable," Zypher mused. "Human brains must have an innate ability to filter and process complex sensory input, even when altered. It's as if they're hardwired to adapt to changing perceptions of reality." Following Sophia's lead, the team made it through the mist, each of them gaining a new appreciation for the human capacity to navigate altered states of consciousness. The next chamber presented a different kind of challenge. The floor was a shifting maze of platforms over a pit of what appeared to be molecular acid. The platforms moved at increasing speeds, following no discernible pattern. "Ooh, hopscotch," Sophia giggled, effortlessly leaping from platform to platform. As the alien crew watched, they noticed something extraordinary. Sophia's movements weren't just random jumps. She was anticipating the platform's movements, making split-second decisions that kept her always one step ahead of danger. "It's not just physical agility," Tavares observed, her medical training kicking in. "Her neural pathways are firing at an incredible rate, processing information and making decisions faster than should be possible." Captain Vex, watching closely, added, "It's more than that. She's not just reacting, she's predicting. Humans must have an innate ability to recognize patterns in chaos, to find order in randomness." One by one, the crew members attempted the challenge, each guided by Sophia's encouragement and example. Though they lacked her intuitive grasp of the patterns, they found themselves improving rapidly, their own neural pathways adapting to the chaotic environment. The final trial brought them to a vast chamber filled with an array of alien flora and fauna, each more deadly than the last. Creatures that defied classification roamed freely, while plants emitted spores and toxins that could kill with a single touch. "This," Reichsel breathed, "must be a recreation of X-37's most lethal ecosystem." Sophia's eyes lit up with joy. "It's just like my favorite playground," she exclaimed, fearlessly approaching a massive, tentacled creature that towered over her. What followed was a masterclass in interspecies communication and environmental adaptation. Sophia moved through the lethal garden with grace and purpose, interacting with each deadly entity as if they were old friends. She showed the crew how to listen to the subsonic rumbles of the carnivorous plants, anticipating their attacks. She demonstrated how to mimic the pheromone signals of the toxic insects, turning potential predators into allies. With each interaction, Sophia revealed a deep, almost instinctive understanding of the complex web of life around her. "It's incredible," Lunara marveled. "It's as if humans have an innate empathy, an ability to connect with and understand even the most alien life forms." Vorlax, ever the pragmatist, added, "And an uncanny knack for turning potential threats into tools for survival. It's no wonder they can thrive in environments that would kill most species." As the team navigated the deadly ecosystem, guided by Sophia's expertise, they began to understand the true nature of human adaptability. It wasn't just about physical resilience or intelligence. It was a unique combination of creativity, empathy, pattern recognition, and an almost reckless curiosity that allowed humans to not just survive, but thrive in the most hostile environments. Sophia, as the pinnacle of this human potential, demonstrated how these traits could be pushed to their limits. Her fearlessness in the face of danger, her ability to see opportunities where others saw only threats, and her innate understanding of the interconnectedness of all life made her the perfect bridge between the Deathworlds and the rest of the galaxy. As they reached the heart of the Nexus core, the challenges overcome, Captain Vex turned to Sophia with newfound respect and understanding. "I think I finally understand, Sophia. The Deathworlds aren't just about survival, they're about unlocking the full potential of life itself. And humans, with their unique adaptability, are the key to awakening that potential across the galaxy." Sophia beamed at him, her eyes twinkling with that mix of childlike joy and ancient wisdom. "Exactly, Captain. And now, it's time to wake up the rest of the playground. Are you ready for the biggest game of all?" As the core's energy swirled around them, the team prepared to take the final step in their mission to reawaken the Deathworlds and save the galaxy. They now moved forward not just as a crew, but as a unified force, each member having gained a deeper understanding of the incredible potential that lay dormant within the universe and within themselves. The team stood in awe as they entered the central chamber of the Nexus core. The room was a perfect sphere, its walls shimmering with an iridescent energy that seemed to pulse in sync with their heartbeats. At the center, a swirling vortex of light and data coalesced into a holographic display that filled the entire space. "Wow," Sophia breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "It's like the biggest, prettiest snow globe ever." As if responding to her voice, the hologram sprang to life. A figure appeared, a being that seemed to shift between human, alien, and something entirely other. When it spoke, its voice resonated on multiple frequencies, filling their minds as much as their ears. "Greeting, seekers," the figure said. "You have proven yourselves worthy of the truth. Behold, the true history of our galaxy." The hologram expanded, showing the birth of the universe itself. As eons passed in seconds, the crew watched in amazement as the first life forms emerged, evolved, and spread across the stars. "In the beginning," the voice narrated, "all life was one. We explored, we grew, we thrived. But as we spread, we began to forget our connection. Species became isolated, stagnant. The great tapestry of life was unraveling." The display shifted, showing a council of advanced beings, the precursors of all current life in the galaxy. We, the progenitors, saw the danger. Isolation would lead to the eventual death of all life. A solution was needed. Images flashed by, showing the creation of the Deathworlds. We seeded these crucibles of evolution across the galaxy, each designed to push life to its limits. And at the heart of our plan was humanity. The crew watched in stunned silence as the truth unfolded. Humans weren't just another species. They were a carefully crafted key to unlocking the potential of all life. Their adaptability, their creativity, their ability to thrive in the face of adversity, all were engineered to serve a greater purpose. But the plan was flawed, the voice continued, a note of sadness creeping in. We underestimated the fear our creations would inspire. The Deathworlds were isolated, humanity was contained, and the galaxy continued its slow descent into stagnation. Sophia stepped forward, her expression uncharacteristically serious. "I understand," she said, her voice carrying that eerie maturity. "But why me? Why now?" The hologram shifted again, showing a galaxy on the brink of collapse. "The time has come for a choice. The fate of all life hangs in the balance. Sophia, you must decide the future of the galaxy." 3 paths appeared before Sophia, each shimmering with possibility. You may awaken the Deathworlds fully, unleashing their power to drive evolution across the galaxy. This path will bring rapid change and growth, but also conflict and upheaval. You may seal the Deathworlds forever, maintaining the current balance. This path offers stability, but at the cost of stagnation and eventual decline. Or, the voice paused, you may choose to reshape reality itself, merging the essence of the Deathworlds with the rest of the galaxy. This path is unknown, its consequences impossible to predict. The chamber fell silent as the weight of the decision settled on Sophia's small shoulders. The alien crew looked on, their minds reeling from the revelations and the magnitude of the choice before them. Captain Vex stepped forward, his mandibles clicking nervously. "Sophia, this is too much for any one being to decide. Perhaps we should." But Sophia raised her hand, silencing him with a gentle smile. "It's okay, Captain. I know what to do." She turned to face the hologram, her eyes shining with that mix of childlike wonder and ancient wisdom. "I choose none of these options." A gasp went through the chamber. Even the holographic progenitor seemed taken aback. "But you must choose one," it insisted. "The fate of the galaxy depends on it." Sophia shook her head, a mischievous grin spreading across her face. "That's grown-up thinking. Always believing there are only a few choices, always afraid of the unknown. But the best games are the ones we make up ourselves." She raised her hands, and to everyone's amazement, the swirling energies of the core began to respond to her. "I choose to let everyone decide for themselves. I'll wake up the Deathworlds, but I'll also wake up the rest of the galaxy. Everyone gets to play, everyone gets to choose how they want to grow." As Sophia's power merged with the core's, the hologram began to shift and change. The progenitor's image smiled, a look of pride and relief washing over its features. "Of course," it said softly. "The final test was never about making the right choice, but about recognizing that true potential comes from freedom and diversity." The chamber filled with blinding light as Sophia's decision took effect. The crew of the Celestial Seeker felt a surge of energy wash over them, awakening parts of themselves they never knew existed. As the light faded, they found themselves back on the surface of X-37. But the planet had changed. The deadly beauty remained, but now it felt inviting, full of possibility rather than danger. Sophia turned to her friends, her eyes twinkling with excitement. "Well, what are you waiting for? The whole galaxy is our playground now. Let's go play." And as the Celestial Seeker prepared to embark on a new journey, spreading the gift of awakening across the stars, the crew realized that their adventure was far from over. In fact, it had only just begun. In the weeks and months that followed Sophia's momentous decision, the galaxy underwent a transformation unlike anything seen in eons. The crew of the Celestial Seeker found themselves at the forefront of a new age, witnessing the ripple effects of awakening that spread across the stars. The once feared Deathworlds, including X-37, became beacons of evolution and growth. Species from across the galaxy, drawn by an inexplicable urge to explore and adapt, began to visit these crucibles of life. What was once considered a death sentence became the ultimate adventure, a chance to unlock hidden potential and forge connections with the most extreme environments the universe had to offer. Human-alien relations entered a revolutionary phase. Humanity's innate adaptability and creativity, once contained and feared, became highly sought-after traits. Mixed crews, like that of the Celestial Seeker, became the norm rather than the exception. The exchange of ideas, cultures, and biological innovations led to an explosion of progress in science, art, and philosophy. Captain Xyler Vex, addressing a newly formed galactic council that now included representatives from every known species, including those from the Deathworlds, reflected on the changes. "We stand at the dawn of a new era," he declared, his compound eyes scanning the diverse assembly. "The barriers that once divided us have fallen. We are no longer defined by our origins, but by our shared potential for growth and understanding." The power dynamics of the galaxy shifted dramatically. The old hierarchies based on technological advancement or military might give way to a new order that valued adaptability, creativity, and symbiotic relationships with diverse environments. Former enemies found themselves working together to tackle the challenges posed by awakened Deathworlds, forging unlikely alliances in the process. Sophia, the catalyst for this galactic renaissance, became both a symbol and a mystery. Stories of her adventures spread across the stars, inspiring countless beings to push their own boundaries. She was seen on distant worlds, always accompanied by a diverse group of companions, leaving awakened potential in her wake. On a newly discovered Deathworld at the edge of known space, Dr. Maya Thompson, part of a joint human-alien research team, made a startling discovery. In a cavern filled with biolite flora that responded to thought patterns, she found a message left behind by Sophia. "The game is bigger than you think. Look beyond the edges of the board." As Maya shared her finding with the team, including members of the original Celestial Seeker crew, speculation ran wild. What did Sophia mean? What lay beyond the known galaxy? Lunara Threx, her scientific curiosity piqued, posited a theory. "We've been so focused on our own galaxy, our own reality. But what if there are other planes of existence, other dimensions where life has taken entirely different paths?" The implications were staggering. If Sophia's message was to be believed, the awakening of their galaxy might just be the first move in a much larger game. As news of this discovery spread, a new wave of excitement and purpose swept through the galactic community. Exploration ships, crewed by diverse teams of humans and aliens, began to push the boundaries of known space. Research into interdimensional travel, once considered fringe science, received unprecedented funding and attention. The Celestial Seeker, now commanded by Catharn Solis following Xyler Vex's promotion to the Galactic Council, prepared for its most ambitious mission yet. They would trace Sophia's path through the awakened Deathworlds, seeking clues to the greater mystery that lay beyond. As the ship prepared to depart, a small package arrived for the crew. Inside, they found a simple puzzle box of unknown origin and a note in Sophia's handwriting. For when you're ready to play on the biggest playground of all, see you in the space between spaces. The crew exchanged glances, a mix of excitement and trepidation washing over them. They had thought their greatest adventure was behind them, but it seemed Sophia had other plans. As Catharn gave the order to depart, each member of the crew felt the familiar thrill of the unknown calling to them. The galaxy had been awakened, but it was clear that Sophia's game and their part in it was far from over. As the Celestial Seeker leapt into hyperspace, its diverse crew united in purpose, they carried with them the hope and curiosity of countless awakened beings. Whatever lay beyond the edges of their known reality, they would face it together, with the spirit of adventure and adaptability that Sophia had instilled in them all. The universe, it seemed, was an even bigger playground than anyone had imagined. And somewhere out there, a child from a Deathworld was waiting to show them how to play on an entirely new level.